I heard a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
In 1994, something dark and unforgettable hit the screen, a film where grief became armor, resurrection became vengeance, and the city's rain-slicked alleys echoed with the wings of a single crow. Enter The Crow, not just an action fantasy, but a tragic myth shadowed by fate, mourning, and the brilliance of its star, Brandon Lee. On the night before his wedding, musician Eric Draven and his fiancée are brutally murdered. He returns from the dead, driven not by cheap revenge, but by love unforgotten, skies forever gray, thunder in his heart. With its gothic visuals, pulsing soundtrack, and real-life tragedy behind the scenes, The Crow became more than a cult flick. It transformed into legend. In this feature, we're uncovering 25 of the strangest, most haunting facts about The Crow. Facts that shine a light on its creative heart, its horror origins, its production turbulence, and the legacy of a film made beautiful even in its sorrow. Fact 1. A tragedy that changed filmmaking forever. Filming was almost complete when Brandon Lee was fatally wounded on April 19, 1993, by a prop firearm that mistakenly contained a fragment of a live round. The incident sent shockwaves through Hollywood. The film's production shut down, insurance investigators arrived, and safety protocols were forever altered. What followed wasn't just completion of a film, but a resurrection of one. The remaining scenes were finished using Lee's stunt double, digital compositing, and body doubles. The film opened less than a year later and carried Lee's final performance on its battered wings. The tragic genius of the film emerges because art and loss merged. The story of rebirth paralleled the real life of its star.
Say don't move, Snow White. You move, you're dead.
And I say I'm dead, and I move.
Fact 2. The film that questions fate and the cursed reputation. From its earliest days, The Crow bore whispers of something wrong. Crew members talked about a chilling air on set and the production's relentlessly grim mood. Whether you call it superstition or atmosphere, that tension bled into the film's rain-soaked world. Although curse sounds sensational, the production carried a kind of spectral weight. When people spoke of the movie, it wasn't just, did it turn out? But how did it turn out at all? That unease became part of the film's DNA. The gloom, the mist, and the unfinished wound of its star, giving The Crow a haunting story both on and off the screen. Fact 3. A visual palette of night and crimson. Director Alex Proyas originally pitched shooting the film in stark black and white, reserving color only for Draven's memories. The studio rejected this radical approach, but Proyas adapted. The film instead uses a monochromatic palette layered with dark grays and deep reds. This aesthetic created a world where the city is almost washed in charcoal, only to be pierced by the flash of blood, the flame of vengeance, the white painted face of the hero. The visuals aren't just style, they reflect grief, otherworldliness, and the feeling of being between life and death. In that sense, the film's look became part of its storytelling.
Can't rain all the time.
Eric?
Fact 4. It can't rain all the time, a line born of kindness. One of the film's most quoted lines, "It can't rain all the time," has a humble origin. Comic book creator James O. Barr, in financial distress, went to buy only rice at a grocery store. A man in line behind him quietly paid for his groceries, saying, "You can't eat rice all the time." That real-life kindness inspired O'Barr's line in the graphic novel and inherited into the film. This blend of real-world compassion and gothic revenge narrative creates a strange emotional duality. The film is brutal, yes, but it's also built on the idea of small mercy, memory, and love surviving loss. It reminds viewers that beneath the moody skies and leather coat is a human heart. Fact 5. End credits dedication. For Brandon and Eliza. When the credits roll, the text appears simple. For Brandon and Eliza. Brandon Lee, who died during production, and his fiancée Eliza Hutton, who supported completion of the film despite her grief. That dedication isn't just a footnote, it frames the whole experience of the movie. Every time the theme song pulses, every time the camera lingers on Draven's painted face, you feel the loss behind the art. The film became a memorial, a catharsis, and a tribute all in one. That dedication invites the audience into the mourning, not separate from the story, but embedded within it. Onward, into the choices, myths, and scars that forge the film's legend. Fact 6. The makeup myth that became legend. Many believe Brandon Lee applied his own makeup and slept in it for realism. It's a haunting story, but not true. The look was created by makeup artist Lance Anderson with input from Lee and director Alex Proyas. Each day, the process took hours, with deliberate smudging and layering to show Eric Draven's decay. The myth endures because it fits the film's ghostly mood, an actor so committed he became his character. Yet it was artistry, not pain, that gave The Crow its unforgettable face. Fact 7. The fatal scene, a tragedy in the script. Brandon Lee's accident occurred on March 31, 1993, while filming the flashback where Eric Draven walks in on his fiance's assault and is shot by a gang. It was part of the character's death sequence, not a mourning scene. The footage was destroyed, and the film was completed using body doubles, digital compositing, and script rewrites. What was meant to be fiction became heartbreakingly real, the moment that turned The Crow from a dark story into a legend of loss. Fact 8. Michael Massey never watched the film. Actor Michael Massey, who fired the prop gun during the fatal accident, was cleared of wrongdoing but deeply traumatized. He took a year off from acting and later said he still had nightmares about that day. He returned briefly in Seven, 1995, but avoided The Crow entirely. Up until his passing in 2016, Massey never watched the film, a lasting mark of guilt and sorrow that shaded his otherwise quiet career. Fact 9. The cursed production, rumor and reality. Stories claim producers received an anonymous voicemail warning of a tragedy before filming began. Never verified, but endlessly repeated. What's real is chilling enough. A crewman was severely burned when a crane struck power lines on the first day of shooting. Another accidentally drove a screwdriver through his hand. A third fell through a rooftop and broke his ribs, and a powerful storm tore apart part of the North Carolina set. Then came Brandon Lee's death, the final, devastating blow. Whether or not that warning ever existed, the string of real misfortunes gave The Crow its enduring reputation as a film touched by fate. Fact 10. Completing the film took miracles and machines. After Lee's death, the film was nearly abandoned. Then a small company, Entertainment Media Investment Corp., stepped in, buying completion rights. Using CGI, stand-ins, and brilliant editing, they finished what Lee started. Early digital effects mapped Lee's likeness onto doubles for crucial shots. Cutting-edge technology for 1994. The result wasn't perfect, but it preserved the heart of his performance and allowed the story to reach audiences worldwide. The miracle was finished. Now, the meanings beneath the rain. Fact 11. Dreams in black and white. Director Alex Proyas originally wanted to shoot The Crow entirely in black and white, mirroring James O. Barr's graphic novel, with color used only for flashbacks and memories. The studio rejected the idea, fearing audiences wouldn't respond. Though the concept never left paper, its influence remained, shaping the desaturated, shadow-drenched look that made The Crow feel like a living comic etched in rain and grief. Fact 12. A raven, not a crow. Despite the title, the bird on set was actually a raven, chosen for its larger wingspan and stronger screen presence. Its deep, glossy feathers gave scenes an eerie elegance. The substitution added to the film's mystique. What audiences thought was symbolic casting was actually a matter of practicality that turned poetic. Fact 13. A line that echoed forever. At one point, Eric says, "I thought I'd use your front door." It's simple, but fans consider it prophetic. An unintentional goodbye from Lee himself. In the story, it's a dark joke. In hindsight, it feels like a haunting signature. One last wink from a spirit walking between worlds. Fact 14. Music born from grief. The soundtrack became a legend of its own. Bands like The Cure, 9 Inch Nails, and Stone Temple Pilots contributed songs drenched in loss and rebellion. James O. Barr, mourning his fiancée when writing the comic, found catharsis in these tracks. It's why the film sounds like heartbreak, industrial, loud, and strangely beautiful. Fact 15. The comic creator's guilt. O. Barr called the money he earned from The Crow blood money. Feeling haunted by the tragedy, he donated most of it to charity. His words captured the paradox of the project. Success built on sorrow, fame tied to grief. That guilt still lingers in every panel and every frame. From hardship to heritage, here's how the world received it. Fact 16. A mask too unsettling to use. After Lee's death, effects artist molded a mask from his face to finish scenes with body doubles. When the cast saw it, they were horrified. It looked too lifelike, too wrong. The mask was destroyed, and digital techniques replaced it. Even the crew admitted it felt like bringing him back in a way that crossed a line. Fact 17. The makeup myth. Fans often assume Lee's look was inspired by rock stars like Alice Cooper or Kiss. In truth, it came from a marionette mask in the comic. That doll-like sadness captured the fragility of his character, a puppet of fate, animated by love and vengeance. Fact 18. The weight of the role. Brandon Lee lost over 20 pounds for the part, determined to look ethereal, more ghost than man. He weighed his food and trained obsessively. On screen, that discipline shows. Lean, hollow, and graceful, he looks like someone already halfway between the living and the dead. Fact 19. The symbol that never was. Many fans remember a fire crow spreading across the screen, a symbol of vengeance burning against the night. In truth, that image never existed as an official emblem in The Crow. The fiery shape Eric Draven creates in the streets was a moment of visual poetry, not a recurring logo or influence on later films like V for Vendetta or The Dark Knight Rises. Those blazing insignias came from their own worlds. Still, the scene left a lasting impression. The sight of fire cutting through darkness became shorthand for rebellion and grief, a cinematic language The Crow helped define, even if no one ever traced it directly back to the wings of that bird. Fact 20. The crew that worked in shadows. Production was grueling. Freezing rain soaked night shoots, rails iced over, and riggers used blowtorches just off camera to keep equipment moving. It wasn't glamorous, it was survival. Every frame of that film was literally fought for in the cold, under artificial moonlight. Fact 21. Box office resurrection. The Crow was released on May 13, 1994, beneath a cloud of mourning and morbid curiosity. No one expected an R-rated gothic revenge film, shot in rain-soaked shadows and marked by tragedy, to succeed. Yet it earned $50.7 million in North America and $94 million worldwide on a modest $23 million budget, debuting at number 1 at the box office. Studio executives were stunned. What they thought would be a niche art house release became a global phenomenon. In some cities, late-night screenings sold out for weeks as word of mouth spread. Fans treated each showing like a vigil, filling theaters not just to watch, but to remember. That financial success didn't feel like victory. It felt like vindication. It proved that the film's darkness didn't repel audiences. It resonated with them. In grief, people found connection, and through tragedy, the movie found immortality. Fact 22. Critical acclaim in the shadows. Upon release, The Crow stunned critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, it still holds an 84% critic score and over 90% audience approval, an almost unheard of balance for a comic book adaptation in the mid-1990s. Major outlets praised its artistry. The Washington Post called it a dark ballet of pain and poetry. The New York Times admired its operatic sorrow wrapped in comic book steel. And Roger Ebert wrote that Brandon Lee commanded the screen with sorrowful grace, noting that the tragedy off-screen only amplified the film's emotional power. In an era dominated by campy superhero films, The Crow felt dangerous. Stylized violence fused with genuine grief. Critics who normally dismissed genre fare admitted it had soul. Reviewers compared Lee's presence to James Dean and Heath Ledger, actors whose deaths turned their roles into myths. Even decades later, critics revisit The Crow not as a curiosity, but as proof that beauty can survive inside the darkest frame. Fact 23. The Crow that stayed by his side. 3 trained ravens, not crows, portrayed Draven's spectral companion. They came from a California animal training company called Birds and Animals Unlimited, the same group that supplied birds for films like Batman Returns and Legends of the Fall. Each raven was trained for months to follow specific cues, one for landing, one for flight, and one for close-up work. Handlers said the birds were unusually intelligent and strangely calm around Brandon Lee, often landing on his shoulder without a cue. After the fatal accident, one of the ravens reportedly refused to leave the soundstage, circling the rafters for hours before being coaxed down. Some crew members later admitted it felt like a final farewell, a living echo of the story they were finishing. Fact 24. Fans who turned the film into a vigil. When The Crow premiered in May 1994, it carried the weight of a real tragedy. Audiences knew they were watching Brandon Lee's final performance, and the release felt more like a memorial than a movie opening. Fans brought flowers, candles, and letters to theater lobbies, treating screenings as quiet tributes. Some dressed in black or echoed Eric Draven's ghostly makeup, not for show, but in reverence. Critics noted the stillness that filled the room when the dedication for Brandon and Eliza appeared. In that silence, grief and art met. The line, "It can't rain all the time," became more than dialogue. It became a message from the screen to everyone mourning the actor who gave it life. Fact 25. Brandon Lee's legacy lives in the script. Every frame feels haunted by the words he never got to finish. His last recorded line during production, "It can't rain all the time," became a promise, echoing through generations of artists who saw loss turned into beauty. His performance transcended the role. He didn't just play Eric Draven, he became him, and in doing so, he made grief look like grace. Bonus fact, The Cursed Comics Redemption. James O'Barr wrote The Crow while mourning his fiancée, killed by a drunk driver. The comic was therapy, rage turned to ink. After the film's success, O'Barr said he finally found closure. He called Brandon Lee the only person who understood the pain underneath the pages. For the artist and the actor, the story was never about revenge. It was about release. His story didn't end with the credits. It rippled through ink, memory, and bloodline. And you thought that was it? Not quite. Two final truths remain, the ones that live beyond the film itself. Bonus 2. A family shadow, the Lee curse. Brandon Lee's death at 28 echoed an older tragedy. His father, Bruce Lee, died in 1973 at 32, collapsing unexpectedly just before the release of Enter the Dragon. Both were at the height of their careers, both died before seeing their defining films reach the world, and both left fans whispering about a Lee curse. Doctors found no connection. Bruce from cerebral edema, Brandon from an on-set gun mishap. But the symmetry was haunting. Two sons of cinema, taken in their prime, each immortalized by the very art that cost them peace. After Brandon's death, his mother Linda Lee Cadwell founded the Bruce Lee Foundation with her daughter Shannon Lee. The nonprofit preserves both men's legacies, turning grief into mentorship and movement. Yet even in that light, the story carries a chill, a dynasty of brilliance marked by eerily parallel endings. The father awakened martial arts cinema, the son died bringing a gothic hero to life. Both remain frozen in time, luminous, unfinished, and eternal. The Crow isn't remembered for its budget, effects, or box office numbers. It's remembered because a real human story bled through the celluloid. Love, loss, and creation born from grief. In the film, Eric Draven says, "Buildings burn, people die, but real love is forever." For Brandon Lee, that line became truth. The movie he didn't live to see turned his final performance into immortality. 3 decades later, the rain still falls on Detroit's rooftops in our minds, and the crow still flies. Not as an omen, but as a memory, reminding us that even in tragedy, art can resurrect what the world thought it lost. Stay tuned for more strange flick facts that reveal the hidden chaos behind your favorite classics, because sometimes the strangest stories are the ones behind the camera.